Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking a really fascinating epidemiological mystery today, one that involves human health, cancer prevention, and a fundamental trace mineral found right in our oceans. We're going to dive right in and explore a narrative that stretches all the way from traditional macrobiotic diets straight into modern clinical oncology. By the end of this, you are going to have a much deeper understanding of the incredible literal defense mechanisms happening right now at the cellular level inside your own body.
So this all starts with a massive global puzzle. Have you ever wondered why certain populations, specifically Japanese women, have drastically lower rates of hormone-driven cancers? I mean, the data is just undeniable here. Japanese women experience an incidence of breast cancer that is 3 to 9 times lower than the rate we see among American women. And it's not just women. Japanese men also boast significantly lower rates of prostate cancer. Now, researchers have spent decades trying to decode this anomaly. They've looked at genetics, they've looked at lifestyle, the whole shebang. But you know what? The most compelling evidence points straight to the dinner plate.
The dietary divide between these cultures is absolutely staggering. Get this, the Japanese population consumes 25 times more iodine than Western populations. 25 times. And this isn't from popping heavily manufactured supplements. It's occurring entirely naturally through their traditional diet, which is incredibly rich in fish and, most importantly, sea vegetables. When researchers spotted this huge disparity in iodine intake, they started asking the big question, could this specific trace mineral be the ultimate gatekeeper for maintaining healthy cells?
Well, to answer that, we have to look back at some foundational research from 1984. Medical researcher Dr. Jane Teese and her associates at the Harvard School of Public Health conducted a really interesting study. They took experimental animals and gave them a diet containing just 5% kombu. Kombu is just a very common sea vegetable. The results? Completely striking. That mere 5% addition significantly delayed the inducement of breast cancer. Extrapolating this up to human subjects, the investigators concluded that seaweed is very likely a crucial factor in explaining those phenomenally low cancer rates over in Japan.
Section 1. The Cellular Engine. Iodine at the micro level.
Okay, so the absolutely crucial point we need to hit right now is rewriting a very common misconception. When most people hear the word iodine, they immediately think, oh, thyroid, right? And sure, while it is totally vital for proper thyroid function and metabolism, the sources clearly state that every single cell in the human body requires and uses iodine to function. Every cell. It's essential for the production of all your body's hormones and for maintaining a robust, properly functioning immune system. Without it, it's like our cellular engine literally runs out of oil.
To really understand how iodine fights disease, we have to talk about apoptosis. Now think of apoptosis as the body's highly programmed, natural self-destruct button. It's there specifically for eliminating abnormal or mutated cells before they can actually cause us harm. While iodine directly induces this apoptotic process in breast and thyroid cancer cells. When our iodine levels drop, this critical self-destruct mechanism can actually fail, which basically allows those mutated cells to survive and proliferate. And this ties directly into our DNA. The p53 gene is famously known in the medical community as the keeper of the genetic code. Its whole job is to patrol the body and eliminate abnormal, potentially cancerous cells. But here is the major catch. The sources highlight that this vital p53 gene absolutely relies on iodine alongside selenium to function correctly. Without sufficient iodine, the keeper of the genetic code is essentially asleep on the job. It leaves the body wide open and vulnerable to cellular mutation.
This is where the biochemistry gets incredibly fascinating. When the body has adequate iodine, it forms these specific compounds called iodolactones. You can basically think of iodolactones as a regulatory brake system for your cells. They actively suppress tumor growth and they regulate the proliferation of breast cancer cells. The lack of these iodinated compounds? Well, it basically removes the brakes from the car, allowing those abnormal cells to just multiply unchecked.
Section 2. Clinical Studies. Validating the mechanisms.
The historical lab data on this is quite profound. Back in a 1974 study published in the Japanese Journal of Experimental Medicine, scientists were testing several varieties of kombu on mice that had implanted cancerous tumors. The inhibition rates were staggering. We are talking 89 to 95% inhibition. As the researchers reported, the tumors underwent complete regression in more than half of the mice in every single treated group. These sea vegetables were visibly, undeniably turning the tide against the implanted malignancies.
So what's driving this? Scientists believe a major driver of this success is a specific chemical compound found in brown seaweeds called Fucoidan. Fucoidan is a polysaccharide.
and it acts as a really powerful activator of our immune responses. Laboratory studies actually show that Fucoidan enhances phagocytosis, which is just a fancy word for the engulfing and destroying of abnormal cells by our macrophages. In simple terms, Fucoidan appears to just supercharge the immune system, opening up some incredible perspectives for natural cellular defense.
And remember, this is absolutely not just a conversation about breast tissue. The prostate gland is also highly sensitive to iodine uptake. Government nutritional studies have actually demonstrated that men with the highest levels of iodine intake have a 29% lower risk of prostate cancer compared to the guys with the lowest intake. The protective mechanisms of this trace mineral span across multiple critical hormone-sensitive systems in the entire human body.
Section 3. Bioavailability, Absorption and Practical Application. Okay, so when we look at how to actually source this stuff, there are generally two paths we can take. On one side, we have dietary seaweeds, things like nori, wakame, and dulse. These are whole foods. They provide not just iodine, but a really complex matrix of trace minerals, iron, calcium, and they even stimulate beneficial gut bacteria. On the other side of things, we have clerical supplements, like Lugol solution. Now, the literature suggests that while dietary seaweed is fantastic for general health and maintaining your levels, concentrated formulas like Lugols are sometimes utilized to achieve what researchers call tissue saturation, which literally means filling the body's iodine reserves completely to the brim.
According to the source material, some practitioners utilize Lugol's formula specifically because they believe the standard recommended daily allowance of iodine just falls short of what the body actually needs for total halide protection and tumor suppression. In clinical settings, cancer patients have sometimes been supported with higher daily doses of these supplements. The goal there is to ensure that genes, like our friend the p53 gene we talked about earlier, have the absolute maximum substrate they need to fight off those abnormal cells.
However, we definitely must proceed with caution here, specifically regarding certain types of supplements. The sources issue a very clear warning about relying on kelp supplements. See, kelp acts as an ocean filter. Because our oceans are increasingly burdened with industrial processing waste, pharmaceutical dumping, and even radioactive materials, kelp actively absorbs all those toxins. In fact, kelp has frequently tested high for heavy metals like arsenic. So if you are ever looking into supplementation, understanding the source and the purity of that product is absolutely critical.
Now, another really fascinating aspect of reintroducing iodine to a depleted body is that it actually acts as a detoxifier. Iodine pushes competing environmental toxins like bromine from baked goods and fluoride from our water right out of the body's receptors. Sometimes this can actually cause detoxification symptoms. To manage this, clinical protocols often use a salt loading protocol. It works like this. You drink a half teaspoon of unrefined salt in warm water and you follow it with 12 ounces of filtered water. You repeat that every 30 to 45 minutes until urination begins. The chloride in the salt binds to the displaced toxins in the bloodstream, and it helps your kidneys safely flush them right out of the body.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound thought to ponder today. We live in an era where chemical farming has heavily depleted our agricultural soils, and environmental toxins are actively competing with the minerals we do actually manage to consume. So could the missing link to robust cellular defense and the secret behind those amazingly low cancer rates in Japan really be as simple as restoring the fundamental trace minerals that our modern environment has stripped away? It's a really powerful question, and it's one that challenges us to rethink the very foundation of our daily nutrition. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking those great questions.